Let me ask you something. Have you ever been played? Have you ever given someone your trust, your time, maybe even your love, only to realize they were never who they pretended to be? It's one of the worst feelings in the world. Like the ground has been ripped out from under you. You feel exposed, you feel foolish, and worst of all, you feel powerless. But what if I told you that power is still yours? What if I told you that you don't need revenge, you don't need an apology, and you don't even need closure? Because the truth is, the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop giving them access to your emotions, that's when they start suffering in silence. There's a common misconception that moving on means forgiving and forgetting. That's a lie. Moving on means detaching. It means becoming so focused on yourself, so deeply invested in your own growth, that they become irrelevant. And that, my friend, is a fate far worse than any revenge you could plan. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. This isn't just about getting over betrayal, it's about mastering the art of stoicism in relationships. Because when you understand stoicism, you realize that real strength isn't about proving a point to them. It's about proving a point to yourself. You want to know the most powerful thing about silence. It forces them to confront their own actions. No arguments, no explanations, no emotional outbursts, just your absence. And the longer they sit with it, the more they regret. That's how they suffer. And the best part? You won't even care. So, stick with me, because by the end of this, you won't just feel better, you'll be transformed. Let's get into it. 1. The shock of betrayal. Understanding the emotional impact. Betrayal is one of those experiences that cuts deep, not just because of what happened, but because of what it reveals. It's like standing in front of a shattered mirror. What you thought was whole and trustworthy was, in reality, fragile and false. When someone you trusted, cared for, maybe even loved, turns around and betrays you, it doesn't just hurt, it shakes your foundation. You start questioning everything. Was any of it real? Were you blind to the signs? Could you have done something differently? And then comes the worst part. You start questioning yourself. Was I not good enough? Did I deserve this? Is there something wrong with me? These thoughts are poison, and they spread fast. Because betrayal doesn't just leave you angry at them, it makes you angry at yourself. You replay every moment, searching for clues, trying to rewrite the past in your mind. But here's the truth, you didn't fail. They did. They showed you who they really are, and while it hurts, it's also the greatest gift they could have given you: clarity. This pain is a wake-up call, and while it might feel unbearable now, it is also the very thing that will set you free, but only if you let it. Stoicism teaches us that we don't control what happens to us, only how we respond. That's what separates those who stay trapped in pain from those who rise above it. Right now, you have a choice. Let this betrayal define you or let it refine you. Because make no mistake, this is a defining moment. The way you handle this will determine the trajectory of your growth. The people who play others, who deceive and manipulate, they thrive on reaction. They feed off of knowing they still have control over you, even after they're gone. That's why silence is your greatest weapon. When you stop reacting, when you refuse to give them the satisfaction of your pain, they start to feel the weight of what they've done. Think about it. Why do people betray others in the first place? Most of the time, it's not even about you. It's about them. Their selfishness, their insecurities, their inability to be honest, their need for validation. They make choices based on their own weaknesses, and then they leave you to pick up the pieces. But here's where you take back control. You don't have to pick up those pieces. You don't have to rebuild something that was never meant to last. Let it break. Let it burn. Because what comes next is not about fixing something broken. It's about creating something stronger. Your first instinct might be to seek closure, to demand answers, to make them understand how much they hurt you. That's normal. But ask yourself, what would that actually change? Would their apology undo the damage? Would knowing why they did it somehow erase the betrayal? Or would it just pull you deeper into a cycle that keeps them at the center of your world? The harsh reality is that closure isn't something they can give you. It's something you have to take for yourself, and the only way to do that is to stop looking for it in them. Because people who betray you aren't thinking about your healing, they're thinking about themselves. They will justify, they will manipulate, they will twist the story to make themselves feel better. And you deserve better than that. The moment you decide to stop chasing answers, to stop searching for meaning in someone else's selfish actions, is the moment you take your power back. Betrayal hurts, but it also reveals the truth. And the truth is, you were never the problem. The truth is, their actions have nothing to do with your worth. The truth is, their ability to lie, to deceive, to take you for granted is a reflection of their character, not yours. And once you truly accept that, once you let go of the idea that their choices had anything to do with you, you free yourself. This is where most people get stuck. They hold on to the pain, thinking it keeps them connected to what they lost. But what did you really lose? A false sense of security, an illusion of trust, someone who proved they were never truly there for you. What you're grieving isn't the person, it's the idea of them. And once you recognize that, once you separate the illusion from reality, you realize there's nothing left to hold on to. So here's what you do. You let go. You don't argue. You don't seek revenge. You don't explain yourself. You just leave. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. You create a distance so absolute that they can no longer reach you. And that's when the real suffering begins. Not for you, but for them. Because silence is a mirror, and when you refuse to react, they are left alone with the weight of their actions. No distractions, no justifications. Just the cold, empty space where you used to be. There will be moments when the pain resurfaces, when you're tempted to break the silence, to reach out, to make sense of it all. Don't. Every time you resist that urge, you grow stronger. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you remind them, and more importantly yourself, that they no longer have power over you. This is what true strength looks like. Not screaming, not begging, not proving a point, just walking away with your head held high, knowing that their actions are their burden to carry, not yours. This isn't about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about refusing to let that hurt control you. It's about taking the pain and using it as fuel to become better, sharper, more resilient. Because the best revenge isn't proving them wrong, it's proving yourself right. It's showing up for yourself in ways they never did. It's becoming so focused on your own growth that their betrayal becomes nothing more than a distant memory, a lesson learned, a chapter closed. And trust me, they will feel it. They will feel the absence of your energy, your presence, your attention. They will wonder if you're thinking about them, if you're hurting, if you're struggling without them. And when they realize you're not, when they see you thriving without ever looking back, that is when the suffering truly begins. Not yours, theirs, because they played you, but now they're the ones left with regret. And the most poetic part of it all? You won't even care anymore. Silence is louder than words. Why you shouldn't react. Silence. It's the one thing they never expect. When someone betrays you, when they lie, manipulate, or take you for granted, they are waiting for your reaction. They expect anger, tears, confrontation. They want to see that they still matter, that they still have control over your emotions. And that's exactly why silence is the most powerful response you can give. It's not passive, it's strategic. It's a statement that says, I am no longer playing this game. And when you refuse to play, they start to lose. Think about it. When was the last time reacting with emotion ever changed what had already happened? When has begging for answers, fighting for an apology, or demanding justice ever truly healed anyone? The reality is, people who betray you don't care about your closure. They don't care about your pain. If they did, they wouldn't have done what they did in the first place. So why waste your energy giving them what they don't deserve? Why waste your breath explaining yourself to someone who already made up their mind to hurt you? When you react, you give them power. You let them know they still affect you. You allow them to control your emotions long after they've walked away. But when you go silent, when you disappear without a word, they are left in the dark. And that darkness, that is where their suffering begins. Because silence is brutal. It forces them to confront their own actions without the distraction of your reaction. It leaves them alone with the weight of what they've done. No explanations, no justifications, just the undeniable reality that they have lost you, and they don't even know what you're thinking anymore. You might be wondering, does this really work? Will they even care that you've gone silent? Let me tell you something. People always care about what they can no longer have access to. It's human nature. The moment you stop giving them your energy, your words, your attention, they start to wonder why. They start to realize that they are no longer a priority in your life. And that realization stings. Because as long as you react, they know they still hold space in your mind. But when you go silent, when you remove yourself completely, they are left wondering if they ever mattered to you at all. And that is a question that will haunt them far longer than any words you could have said. Stoicism teaches us that control over our emotions is the key to true power. And in relationships, this is especially true. The moment you master the art of non-reaction, you become untouchable. No one can manipulate you. No one can control you because you have trained yourself to be indifferent to the noise and trust. The moment they realize they can't get a reaction out of you, they start to panic. They will try to reach out to test the waters, to see if they can still get under your skin. Don't give in. The moment you break your silence, you give them exactly what they want. Confirmation that they still matter. And that, my friend, is a power they do not deserve. This is where most people fail. They go silent for a while, but then the emotions creep in. The loneliness, the memories, the what-ifs, and in a moment of weakness, they reach out, they respond, they fall back into the cycle. And just like that, the power shifts back. That's why you need to understand. Silence is not just about ignoring them. It's about detaching. It's about truly letting go. Because silence only works if it's real. If you are still checking their social media, still thinking about what they're doing, still waiting for them to notice your absence, then you are not truly silent. True silence means they no longer exist in your world. It means moving on so completely that even if they did come back, you wouldn't care. And when you reach that point, that's when they suffer the most. Because nothing is more painful than realizing you have become a stranger to someone who once cared about you. You might be thinking, but what if they don't care at all? What if my silence doesn't affect them? Here's the hard truth. If they don't care, then reacting wouldn't have changed anything either. Some people are incapable of remorse, incapable of reflection, and that's all the more reason to be silent. Why waste energy on someone who wouldn't do the same for you? Your silence is not about them, it's about you. It's about taking back your power, about refusing to let someone who hurt you continue to control your emotions. Whether they suffer or not is irrelevant. What matters is that you are no longer suffering because of them. And here's the irony. When you truly move on, when you genuinely stop caring, that's usually when they start to feel it. That's when they start to regret. Because people always assume they have time. They assume they can hurt you, walk away, and come back whenever they please. They assume you'll always be there, waiting, hoping, hurting, and when they realize that you're not, that you've actually moved forward, that their absence has had no impact on your growth, that's when the suffering begins, because regret is a slow poison. It doesn't hit all at once, it creeps in over time, in the quiet moments when they least expect it. And by the time they realize what they lost, it's already too late. So if you are in that place right now, if you are struggling with the urge to react, to reach out, to prove your worth, stop, breathe. Ask yourself, is this person really worth my energy? Are they worth my peace? Or am I better off letting my silence speak for me? Because silence is not weakness. It is discipline. It is strength. It is the ultimate statement that you are done playing their game. And once you master that, once you learn to control your own emotions instead of letting them control you, you will realize you never needed them to suffer. They were always going to do that on their own. If you've made it this far, if you're ready to reclaim your power, like this video and comment number 1 below. And if you want more content on Stoic relationships, on how to master Stoicism in your life and relationships, make sure to subscribe. We're just getting started. 3. The power of distance, cutting off their access. Distance is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, and spiritual. When someone betrays you, disappoints you, or takes you for granted, the biggest mistake you can make is keeping the door open for them to re-enter your life in any capacity. Most people think that cutting someone off means blocking their number, deleting them from social media, or avoiding places where they might be. But true distance goes far beyond that. It is not just about removing them from your sight. It is about removing them from your mind. It is about refusing to let their existence take up space in your world. Because the longer they have access to you, in any form, the longer they have the opportunity to manipulate, to test your boundaries, to make you doubt yourself. And that is exactly what they are hoping for. People who play games with your emotions thrive on the idea that they can come and go as they please. They want to believe that even after everything, you are still waiting for them. That no matter how much time passes, they can still reach out, still check in, still have an effect on you. That is why true distance is so powerful. It shatters that illusion. It forces them to confront a reality they never expected, that they no longer have access to you. And that realization is devastating for people who think they can always return. At first, they might not react. They might assume you are just upset, that this is temporary, that you will eventually cave. That is why most people fail when they try to cut someone off. They do it halfway. They block the person, but still check their profile. They delete their number, but still keep the messages. They stop reaching out, but still secretly hope to hear from them. That is not real distance. That is still leaving a door open, even if only in your mind. And as long as that door remains open, you are still giving them power. True distance means complete detachment. It means erasing them from your life in every possible way. But more importantly, it means erasing the version of yourself that allowed them to hurt you in the first place. Because the goal is not just to remove them, it is to evolve beyond them. It is to become someone so unrecognizable to your past self that even if they tried to come back, they would not know where to find you. The hardest part of creating distance is fighting the urge to check up on them. It is human nature to want to know if they regret what they did, if they miss you, if they are suffering without you. But every time you check their profile, every time you ask a mutual friend about them, you are breaking your own discipline. You are keeping yourself attached to a story that is already over. You are giving them space in your mind that should be reserved for your own growth. And that is exactly what they want. Because as long as you are still thinking about them, as long as you are still wondering how they feel, they still matter to you. And they know it. But imagine this. What if you truly disappeared from their life? What if one day they realized they had no way of knowing anything about you, no access to your thoughts, your emotions, your progress? No idea where you are, what you are doing, who you are becoming. That is when their suffering begins. Because when people lose access to something they took for granted, that is when they start to realize its value. The silence, the distance, it forces them to confront the void they created. And in that void, regret is born. But this is not about punishing them. It is not about making them suffer. It is about making yourself free. Because real freedom is not caring anymore. It is reaching a point where their absence feels like a relief, not a loss. It is waking up one day and realizing that they are no longer a part of your story, and you are better for it. And when you reach that place, when you truly let go, that is when you win. Not because they regret, not because they suffer, but because you are no longer controlled by their actions. This is why Stoicism is so powerful in relationships. It teaches you that your peace is your responsibility, that your emotional state is not dictated by external events, but by your own discipline, that true strength is not found in revenge or proving a point. It is found in indifference, and nothing is more powerful than indifference to someone who expected to have control over you forever. So ask yourself, are you really ready to cut them off? Not just in words, not just for show, but completely. Are you ready to stop checking, stop wondering, stop hoping? Are you ready to close the door so completely that even if they came back, it would not matter, because that is what it takes? Halfway distance is not enough. Temporary silence is not enough. The only way to truly move forward is to burn the bridge so completely that there is nothing left to return to. And when you do that, when you create that distance, something incredible happens. You start to see yourself clearly. You start to remember who you were before they came into your life. You start to realize how much energy you wasted trying to keep them close, trying to understand them, trying to make sense of their actions. And you start to feel something you have not felt in a long time: peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from knowing they regret, but the kind of peace that comes from knowing it does not matter. This is your moment. This is your turning point. If you have ever wondered how to truly move on, how to finally stop feeling stuck, this is the answer. Cut them off completely. Not for them, not to make them suffer, but for yourself. Because the moment you stop giving them access, the moment you remove them from your mind, your world, your future, that is the moment you become free. And in that freedom, you will realize something they never did, that you never needed them to begin with. 4. Leveling up, transforming pain into power. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. You've been betrayed, hurt, discarded like you didn't matter. And for a while, maybe you believed that narrative. Maybe you let yourself sink into the depths of that pain, questioning your worth, replaying every moment, wondering if you could have done something different. But here's the truth. What happened to you was never a reflection of your value. It was a reflection of theirs. And now you have a decision to make. Do you let this pain consume you? Do you let it define you? Or do you take this pain and turn it into the very thing that makes you stronger than ever before? Because that's the choice in front of you right now. You either stay broken or you rise. And trust me, when you choose to rise, they will feel it. They will see it. And they will regret ever underestimating you. There's something incredibly powerful about transformation, especially when it comes from a place of deep pain. Because when someone betrays you, they expect you to fall apart. They expect you to be weak, to be drowning in sadness, to be stuck in a cycle of self-destruction. That's what gives them power. But when you choose to use that pain as fuel, when you channel all of that energy into building yourself up instead of breaking yourself down, that's when you take the power back. That's when you flip the script. Because nothing is more shocking, more unsettling, more devastating to those who thought they had broken you than seeing you become better than ever. This is where the real work begins. Because transformation is not just about proving something to them. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about becoming so focused on your own growth, your own success, your own happiness, that they become irrelevant. And the best part, you won't even be doing it for revenge. You'll be doing it because you finally understand that the best revenge is no revenge at all. Just success, silence, and complete detachment. But let's be real. This isn't easy. The urge to stay in the past, to dwell on the betrayal, to seek closure, it's strong, and if you let it, it will consume you, will. That's why you have to make a conscious decision, right here, right now, to shift your focus entirely, to stop looking back and start looking forward, to stop reliving the past and start creating a new future. Because the moment you do that, the moment you take all of that energy and redirect it toward building yourself up instead of breaking yourself down, you become unstoppable. So what does leveling up actually look like? It's different for everyone, but it always starts with discipline, emotional discipline, mental discipline, physical discipline. Because when you're in pain, when you're angry, when you're heartbroken, the easiest thing to do is self-destruct. To spiral into unhealthy habits, to waste time stalking their social media, to lose yourself in endless overthinking. But if you want to rise above this, if you want to truly transform, you have to break that cycle. You have to make the decision every single day to do the things that will make you stronger, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Start with your body. Physical transformation is one of the fastest ways to take back control of your life. Hit the gym, go for a run, start training, whatever it takes. Because when you push your body, when you discipline yourself physically, you're not just getting stronger on the outside, you're rebuilding yourself from the inside. You're proving to yourself day by day that you are in control, and nothing will make them regret losing you more than seeing you become the strongest, most disciplined version of yourself. Next, focus on your mind. This is where stoicism comes in. Because right now, your mind is probably your biggest enemy. It's the one reminding you of the pain, replaying the betrayal, keeping you stuck in the past. But Stoicism teaches us that we are not our thoughts. We are our actions. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You don't have to engage with every emotion. You can acknowledge the pain without letting it control you. And when you start practicing that level of emotional discipline, when you stop reacting to every single thing that triggers you, you start to realize just how much power you actually have. Then focus on your purpose. There is nothing more powerful than a person with a mission, a goal, a drive that is bigger than their pain. This is the time to pour yourself into something that truly matters. Whether it's your career, your passion, your business, whatever it is, make it your obsession. Because when you are fully immersed in your own purpose, you don't have time to dwell on the past. You don't have time to think about people who no longer serve you. You're too busy creating a future that is so much bigger, so much better than anything you left behind. And here's the best part. When you level up, when you truly transform, you won't even care if they notice. That's the ultimate power move, because at first, they won't notice. They'll assume you're still hurting, still thinking about them, still waiting for them. But then, little by little, they'll start to see the changes. They'll hear about your success. They'll see pictures of you thriving. They'll realize that while they were expecting you to break, you were busy, building yourself into something greater. And that's when it will hit them. The regret, the loss, the realization that they played you. And in doing so, they lost something irreplaceable. But by then, it won't matter. Because you won't need their regret. You won't need their validation. You won't need anything from them. Because you will have already won, not by proving them wrong, but by proving yourself right. By showing yourself that you never needed them to begin with. So if you're ready to take your power back, if you're ready to stop being a victim and start being the strongest version of yourself, like this video and comment number 1 below. And if you want more content on mastering Stoic relationships, on learning how to apply Stoicism to every part of your life, make sure to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. 5. The psychology of regret, letting karma do the work. Regret is one of the most haunting emotions a person can experience. It creeps in slowly, often when they least expect it, and once it takes hold, it doesn't let go. It lingers in the background of their mind, replaying moments, reminding them of what they lost, of the choices they made, and of the consequences they never anticipated. And the most painful part of regret, it cannot be undone, it cannot be fixed, it can only be carried. That is the weight they will bear when they realize they lost someone who truly valued them. That is the suffering that will unfold in silence, long after you have moved on. Because when you cut someone off, when you refuse to engage, when you completely remove your energy from their world, they may not feel it immediately, but they will feel it eventually. And when they do, it will be too late. At first, they won't think much of it. They will assume you are just upset, that this is temporary, that you will eventually come back. People who betray others often operate under the illusion that they can always return, that no matter what they do, they will be forgiven. That time will heal everything, and that eventually you will let them back in. They may even convince themselves that they did nothing wrong, that they were justified in their actions, that you overreacted. But this illusion can only last for so long, because time doesn't heal regret, it amplifies it. And the longer they go without hearing from you, the longer they sit with the reality that you have truly removed them from your life, the more that illusion starts to crumble. Regret doesn't hit all at once. It comes in waves. The first wave is curiosity. They start to wonder why you haven't reached out. They check their phone expecting a message, thinking maybe you just need a little time before you come back. But the message never comes. The second wave is doubt. They start questioning themselves, wondering if they miscalculated. They begin to realize that maybe, just maybe, you are actually gone for good. The third wave is insecurity. They start checking your social media, asking mutual friends about you, trying to get a glimpse into your world. They start looking for signs that you still care, that you still think about them, that they still matter. But they find nothing. And that silence, that absence, it becomes deafening. This is when regret starts to settle in, because people don't truly appreciate something until it's gone. It's a harsh lesson, but one they will have to learn. When you were in their life, they had constant access to you, your energy, your love, your support, your presence. They took it for granted. They assumed it would always be there, and now without it, they start to feel the emptiness of that loss. They begin to realize that what they had was rare, that what they threw away cannot be replaced. And the worst part, they can't fix it. They can't undo it, because you have already moved on. Regret is a slow-burning kind of suffering. It's not like guilt, which comes with the possibility of redemption. It's not like anger, which can be directed outward. Regret is internal, it's personal. It's the quiet realization that they made a mistake, that they lost something valuable, that their actions have consequences they cannot escape, and it's something they will have to carry alone. Because by the time they realize it, you won't be there to hear their apology. You won't be there to comfort them, to tell them it's okay, to give them the closure they now so desperately seek. That's the ultimate lesson in all of this. Some people don't learn until it's too late. Some people don't appreciate until they've lost. And some people will spend the rest of their lives wishing they had done things differently. This is why you don't need revenge. This is why you don't need to seek justice. Karma is not something you have to force. It happens naturally. When someone betrays you, when they take you for granted, when they walk away thinking they will be fine without you, let them. Let them believe whatever they want. Let them think they won. Let them think you are struggling, that you are broken, that you are lost without them. Because time will reveal the truth. And when they finally see it, when they finally feel it, when they finally understand what they had and what they lost, it will be too late. And here's the ironic part. By the time they regret it, you won't care anymore. That's the beauty of moving on. At first, you think you want them to feel the pain you felt. You think you want them to suffer, to hurt, to experience the loss just as deeply as you did. But as time goes on, as you grow, as you heal, you realize that their regret doesn't serve you. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't bring back what was lost. And that's when you know you have truly won. Because the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The moment you stop caring is the moment you take back all of your power. So don't waste your time trying to make them see what they lost. Don't waste your energy trying to make them understand. Let them figure it out on their own. Because they will. And when they do, it will hit them harder than anything you could have ever said. That's the real lesson here. People don't get away with things they might think they do. They might walk away laughing, thinking they outsmarted you, thinking they have won. But life has a way of balancing things out. And when their time comes, when they are sitting alone, haunted by their own choices, you will be far beyond their reach. And that is their true punishment. That is why Stoicism is so important in relationships. It teaches you to let go, to detach, to stop seeking validation from those who don't deserve it. It teaches you that you don't need to fight battles that time will fight for you, that you don't need to prove your worth to those who were too blind to see it, that your energy is far too valuable to be wasted on those who never truly appreciated it. The moment you understand that is the moment you set yourself free. And when you are free, when you are truly at peace, nothing they do, nothing they say, nothing they feel will ever affect you again. This is what it means to win, not by getting revenge, not by making them suffer, but by rising so far above the situation that their regret is meaningless to you, that their suffering is irrelevant. That their presence, their absence, their thoughts, their feelings, none of it matters anymore. That is the highest level of freedom. That is the ultimate victory. And that is why you never need to chase justice. Because life has a way of making sure that everyone eventually faces the consequences of their actions. And when that day comes for them, you will be long gone, living a life so full, so incredible, so completely detached from the past that their regret will be nothing more than an echo in a world you no longer belong to. 6. The art of moving on without looking back. Moving on isn't just about walking away from someone. It's about walking into a new version of yourself that no longer needs them. It's about closing the door so firmly that even if they knock, even if they beg, even if they regret everything, it won't matter anymore, because you won't be there to answer. And this is the hardest part, isn't it? Truly moving on. Not just pretending, not just distracting yourself, not just suppressing your emotions, but reaching a point where their existence no longer affects you in any way. That's real freedom. That's real strength. But how do you get there? How do you reach a place where you don't just move on, but you never look back? It starts with understanding one fundamental truth. Moving on is not about time, it's about choice. People always say, time heals everything. But that's a lie. Time alone doesn't heal. What you do with that time does. Some people spend years stuck in the past, replaying the same memories, holding on to the same pain, waiting for time to magically erase it all. But healing doesn't happen by waiting. It happens by deciding. Deciding that you are done giving energy to the past. Deciding that you are done carrying a story that no longer serves you. Deciding that you are more important than the pain they left behind. The moment you make that decision, truly make it, everything changes. But making that decision isn't enough. You have to follow through. And that means cutting all ties, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. That means no more checking their social media, no more looking through old photos, no more asking mutual friends about them, no more hoping for closure. Because closure isn't something they can give you. It's something you create for yourself. You don't need their explanation, their apology, their regret. You don't need to understand why they did what they did. Because at the end of the day, their actions spoke louder than any words ever could, and those actions told you everything you needed to know. They showed you who they are, and once someone shows you who they are, believe them. True moving on happens when you finally stop romanticizing the past, when you stop looking back with nostalgia and start seeing things for what they really were. Because let's be honest, if it was as good as you remember, you wouldn't be here right now. If they truly valued you, if they truly respected you, if they truly cared, they wouldn't have put you in a position where you had to question any of it. That's the cold, hard truth. And the moment you accept that truth, the illusion of what you thought you had starts to fade. You stop seeing them as some lost love, some unfinished story, some what if. You start seeing them as exactly what they were, an experience, a lesson, a chapter that has now ended. And here's where the real shift happens. When you stop looking back, you finally start looking forward. You start investing in yourself in ways you never did before. You start doing things that make you feel alive again, that remind you of who you were before they came into your life, or better yet, who you are becoming now that they are gone. This is when real growth happens. This is when you discover just how much potential you've been holding back. Because when you were with them, when you were stuck in that cycle, you were probably dimming your own light. You were probably compromising, shrinking, settling. But now you get to be everything they couldn't handle. Now you get to step into your full power without hesitation. And the best part, the moment you stop caring is the moment they start. The moment you truly move on, truly detach, truly become indifferent, that's when they feel it. Because as long as you are still affected by them, they still have power over you. But when you reach a place where they no longer occupy your thoughts, where they are nothing more than a distant memory, that's when the regret hits them the hardest. That's when they start to realize what they lost. And by then, it's already too late. This is why Stoicism is so powerful when it comes to moving on. Because Stoicism teaches you that peace is something you cultivate within yourself, not something that depends on external circumstances. It teaches you that true strength is not found in proving something to others, but in proving something to yourself. It teaches you that the most powerful response is no response at all, not because you're avoiding anything, but because you've already won. Because the moment you decide that your happiness, your growth, your future is more important than any pain from the past, you become untouchable. And this is what I want you to understand. You don't need to hate them to move on. You don't need to hold on to anger or resentment. In fact, the best kind of moving on is when you simply don't care anymore, when their name doesn't trigger you, when their memory doesn't affect you, when you can think about them with nothing but neutrality. That's the real goal. Not pretending to be over them while still secretly hoping they notice you, not acting like you're fine while still waiting for closure, but genuinely reaching a place where you are so focused on your own life, so immersed in your own growth, that they are no longer a part of your world in any way. That's the ultimate freedom. So if you're still struggling, if you're still looking back, if you're still caught in the cycle of wondering what could have been, ask yourself this: why are you holding on to something that let go of you? Why are you giving energy to something that drained you? Why are you looking back at a door that has already closed? The answers to those questions will tell you everything you need to know. And once you have those answers, it's time to let go. completely. Not halfway, not temporarily, but for good. Because the truth is, once you fully move on, once you fully detach, once you fully step into your power, you'll realize that the only person you ever needed was yourself. And when that realization hits, when you finally see how much you were holding back, how much you were sacrificing for something that wasn't meant for you, you will never look back again. You will never question your decision. You will never wonder if you did the right thing, because you will know deep in your soul that you have become something greater than you ever thought possible. And that is something no one can ever take from you. If you're ready to step into that power, if you're ready to let go once and for all, like this video and comment number 1 below. And if you want more on mastering Stoic relationships, on applying Stoicism to every aspect of your life, make sure to subscribe, because we are just getting started. 7. Final victory, finding peace while they suffer. True victory isn't about proving a point, getting revenge, or making them suffer. It's about reaching a place where none of that even matters anymore. The ultimate power is not in watching them regret, not in hoping they feel the loss, but in reaching a level of peace so deep that their actions, their thoughts, their existence no longer have any effect on you. That is the final victory. That is where you win. Because when you arrive at this place, you realize something. They were never as important as you once thought they were. The power they had over you was only ever the power you gave them. And once you take that power back, once you decide that your well-being, your peace, your growth is worth more than any revenge, you become untouchable. People who betray you, who play with your emotions, who take you for granted, they don't expect you to move on completely. They don't expect you to detach fully. Even if they never planned to come back, even if they never truly cared, they still hold on to the idea that they left a mark on you, that you will always remember them, that they will always have a space in your mind. That is why your indifference is the greatest punishment of all. Because when they realize that they are no longer a factor in your life, that they have become irrelevant to your happiness, that's when they truly suffer. And the best part? You won't even notice. By the time they feel it, by the time they start to wonder, by the time regret creeps into their mind, you will already be gone. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You will be so far beyond the version of yourself that once cared about them, that their suffering won't even register in your world. And that's what real freedom looks like. Not pretending to be over them while secretly hoping they miss you. Not faking happiness just to make them jealous, but truly reaching a point where you are so consumed with your own life, your own success, your own growth, that their name, their face, their memory is nothing more than a distant echo in a story that no longer belongs to you. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest weapon, because Stoicism teaches you that the key to a powerful life is not controlling others, but controlling yourself. It's not about manipulating situations to get a reaction. It's about mastering your own mind so that no situation can shake you. And that is exactly what you need to apply here. The moment you stop caring about what they think, about whether they regret, about whether they miss you, is the moment you set yourself free. Because attachment is what keeps you tied to the past. And freedom only comes when you let go completely. There will be moments when the old emotions creep in. That's normal. You might hear a song that reminds you of them. You might pass by a place you used to go together. You might even have a fleeting thought about what could have been. But here's what you need to remember. What could have been doesn't matter. What matters is what is. And what is that they are gone. What is that their actions showed you who they truly are. What is that you are better off without them. Every time your mind tries to pull you back into the past, remind yourself of that. Every time nostalgia tries to rewrite history, remind yourself of why you walked away in the first place. Because the mind loves to romanticize the past, especially when we are healing. But nostalgia is a liar. It only shows you the good moments, never the full picture. And if you allow it to, it will keep you trapped in a cycle of longing for something that never truly existed the way you remember it. The real test of whether you've won is not whether they regret losing you, but whether you no longer care. If they do, and that moment will come, slowly at first, then all at once. One day you will wake up and realize that you haven't thought about them in weeks, that their name doesn't trigger any emotion, that their absence no longer feels like a loss, but a blessing, and that's when you'll know you have moved on, you have won. Because they may still be suffering, they may still be wondering, they may still be hoping for a second chance. But you won't even be looking in their direction. And here's the irony of it all. The more you let go, the more they will feel it. The less you care, the more they will start to. Because people always value what they can no longer have. They always appreciate what is no longer within reach. And that is why your peace, your success, your happiness will be their greatest regret. But by the time they realize it, by the time they wish they had done things differently, it won't matter anymore. Because you will be long gone. So this is your final step. This is your last lesson. Stop looking for closure. Stop wondering if they will ever regret it. Stop waiting for them to suffer. Just live. Focus on yourself so deeply that everything else becomes background noise. Build a life so fulfilling that their absence is nothing more than an irrelevant detail in a story that no longer belongs to them. And when you do that, when you truly commit to your own happiness, you will realize something incredible. You never needed them to suffer. You never needed them to regret. You never needed them to understand what they lost, because the moment you chose yourself over them, you already won. The ultimate lesson in all of this is that your peace, your growth, and your happiness were never meant to depend on someone else's actions. You were never meant to live in a cycle of waiting for validation, for closure, for justice. Because the truth is, justice comes in the form of your own transformation. It comes when you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, when you stop hoping for a different ending and instead create a new beginning. They played you, but you learned. They took you for granted, but you grew. They expected you to stay broken, but you became unshakable. That is the real win. Not making them regret it, not making them suffer, but realizing that none of that even matters anymore. Because their absence is not a loss, it's a gift. It's a doorway to a life where you are no longer tied to the weight of their choices. And that is the most powerful thing of all. At first, the idea of moving on without looking back seems impossible. It feels like there are too many loose ends, too many unanswered questions, too much history to just walk away from. But here's what you have to understand. The story is over, whether you like it or not. The only thing keeping it alive is your attachment to it. And the moment you decide to release that attachment, the moment you choose to step into the next chapter without carrying the baggage of the past, you set yourself free. This isn't about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about refusing to let that hurt define you. It's about realizing that you don't need an apology to move forward. You don't need them to see your worth. You don't need anything from them anymore. That is true power. That is true freedom. In the end, they will feel it. The absence of your energy, your kindness, your presence, it will weigh on them in ways they never anticipated. But by the time they do, by the time they truly understand what they lost, you will be so far ahead in your own journey that it won't even cross your mind. And that's the point. You're not here to wait for their regret. You're not here to hope they notice. You're here to live, to grow, to thrive in a way that makes their betrayal nothing more than a footnote in your story. Because that's all it ever was, a lesson, a chapter, a moment that shaped you but does not define you. And when you finally realize that, when you finally let go completely, you'll look back and wonder why you ever cared in the first place. Because the truth is you never needed them. You only needed yourself.